that anybody would buy it. We had a run-in, like kind of negative experience with Diamond before we went to San Diego Comic-Con. We had a very negative experience with Diamond. And I remember having an argument with the Diamond rep, who was like, well, we don't know, because we had went to one big convention and met a Diamond rep. Diamond's the major distributor that basically owns the comic book industry. We were having an argument with the guy. I'm like, look, I could sell that number. They're like minimum that you got to sell. I'm like, I could sell that number without leaving my state. Because we had already by that time learned how to tour. At the time, when our first book came out, 2 of us were working in telemarketing, maybe 3. Torrance might have been working in telemarketing too. So when we were getting ready to drop our first book, I thought like a telemarketer. I said, well, I went to the internet and I went to yellowpages.com. I'll never forget. And I would go to every major city and I would search for comic shops.
Yeah.
So I called 5 comic shops in Atlanta. I called about 20 comic shops in New York. I found and I didn't even go every city in the country, because we didn't have time. I just the major ones that, the major cities, all the big cities in Texas, because I knew that we would be able to travel to them. But, and I mean, we even called probably every comic shop in Texas that weekend. And I called, I wrote a script for what to say. And me and 2 other guys called every comic shop on this list. I mean, it must have been 200 or 300 comic shops. And we called them all. And we told them we're such and such from, GhostWerks Comics, and we have our book, and it's getting ready to come out. It's in Diamond previews right now, because we did talk into letting us distributing our book. So we got national distribution for the book. We did, we did it, and it was hard, but I mean, it was a lot of fun, and I was very driven because my professional life sucked. I mean, when I went to college, I got a degree that didn't really mean anything to anybody, and I worked in telemarketing and warehouses and stuff like that. But once I got exposed to a few things, I start to believe in it. And at that time, I could have been a motivational speaker at that time. And I was just like, people will say, well, GhostWerks, Samax was the heart of it. And that was why, because I could talk anybody into being fired up. And, it was weird. We were confronted with racism. Black people don't read comics, and we're 4 black dudes standing here with comic book characters on our T-shirts. I mean, why are you trying to tell me that black people don't read comics? And all my friends are black, and all my friends read comics. Because I'm the same color as everybody else is. So black people and Latino people are invisible to people that's not conditioned to see them. And that's something that was never really talked about. Like now, diversity is a thing. It wasn't yet a thing, So we went through a lot, and eventually, the gas just kind of went out of GhostWerks because we weren't really. Everybody wasn't in it to be a professional comic book artist. It was just fun. I was really driven, and other people had better jobs. It helped them. It didn't help that if you had a good job, it's hard to kind of step away from a job where you make good money to spend a lot of time making comic books and trying to tour around and stuff like that. And my job sucked, so I was all in. But but I did see a lot of. I believe that the market was there, but no one was building the market. We had a little bit of money and we were going to promote our book. We didn't know what was a good ad buy. Because one, the comic book business has no marketing sense. So if you talk to somebody in comics, they can't tell you. Well, especially if you're talking about reaching a group other than just people that are buying comics right now. You never saw ads for comics. So and I was like, well, maybe we should put an ad in the source. because we knew we were going to have like kind of hip hop, and the Source was big at that time. And so, but we were like, well, are they going to care about comics? And we couldn't ultimately we couldn't find a place that we felt comfortable spending our money to try and bring attention to our books, and that I think that's why we went that like telemarketing route. But that was one of the reasons that I started GhettoManga, because it was a marketing experiment. I was like, can I, aggregate an audience that is like me multiplied over, that have my same interests, and then when you put on top of that social media, which didn't exist when we did our stuff, and it took a while for social media to catch on. There were a bunch of failed ones. You did have like message boards and stuff like that, but that was real clunky. And when I first started GhettoManga, that was what it was. We had a message board for GhostWerks on our website at the time, and I was just writing articles about hip hop, about music and culture. And then I bought the URL for GhettoManga. That was the beginning of my URL addiction, because I bought my own URL, and then I bought like that GhettoManga.com, and I just kind of messed around with it. And one of my friends who's a DJ said, well, you should do a blog. I'm like, what the hell is a blog? And he explained what a blog was. And so I started blogging in 2006. So I bought the URL for GhettoManga.com in 2003, and for like a few years, I didn't really do nothing with it. It was a page on my website, and then it was also linked out to the GhostWorks message board. I had a little section that I would write about music and stuff like that. And so GhettoManga was really born out of my desire to kind of aggregate fans that match my sensibilities, that which was, like the tagline for GhettoManga, for people not familiar with it: comics, hip hop, news, art, culture. That's what it is. And and it was an experiment just to see, could I do that. When I try to explain to people what I was trying to do with GhettoManga, they would just get this confused look on their face. And because I didn't want to do it, I just wanted to kind of somebody else to do it, and nobody was doing what I wanted to do. And so I decided, well, I'm gonna make a magazine. And I didn't know anything about making magazines. So what I actually did, I went to the library and I bought books about how to make a magazine, or check them out. And I had Photoshop, so I made GhettoManga with Photoshop. And I started publishing it in print in 2008. So we had a website, the blog, and in print, and it goes through all kind of different changes. When during the MySpace era, I had 3 MySpace profiles. One was my personal one. One was the GhettoManga profile. I mean, I don't even remember like what the different kind of things were. Like a page, like on Facebook, but it was like I had one, and then I had another one called GhettoManga Mixtape, where I would basically rip music from different artists that I like, just obscure artists and stuff that I like, and I would put it all on there, like upload it, like they were mixtapes that I made, like if I was a DJ, but I'm not. I would just put them on there like that, and it was called GhettoManga Mixtape, and it was mostly to draw people that had the same musical taste as me. That was the idea. And so I would, like, a lot of times it would be like obscure rappers that nobody would know who it was, but it would be dope, and it would be on my mixtape, and people would be begging me like, who is that? A perfect example is Jay Electronica, when he was real big, but he was real like gaining steam, but people didn't know who he was. And I had like a couple of his songs on there, and people would be like, dude, you're incredible. I'm like, nah, this is just a mixtape that I'm working on. They'd be like, who is? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it, dog. Just stay tuned. I use that kind of draw people in, and then I would talk about comics and stuff with it. Actually, doing GhettoManga really really helped me as a freelancer because I got a lot of work because people who just followed GhettoManga then would find out I was an artist and they would work with me because of that, because they just thought I was cool. And then they go, "Oh, you can draw?" I'm like, yeah. "Oh, will you do this for us?" Yeah. So anyway.
So it was a good experiment then.
Yeah, absolutely.
So right now, tell us a little bit about where can we view all these comics that you worked on, if there is a place, online. Where can we read them?
Right. So probably a lot of the comics that I did with GhostWerks. If you go to GhostWerks.com, or if you go to there's a page for GhostWerks on Facebook. If you go there, all that stuff should be on there. The Champion of Children book is on Amazon. We did a collection a couple years ago with Kickstarter, and collected all the Champion of Children stuff together. There's some new stuff with an artist named Rashid Hines that Corrence, our head writer, Corrence Davis, he worked with this guy Rashid and did another story. That's all. It's called Champion of Children. I'm Known as the Champ. You can find that on Amazon, or if you go to GhostWorks.com, you can probably buy that book and our old books at GhostWorks.com, or if you go to the store at GhettoManga.com, I sell some of the old books on there too, as well as the magazines that I make now.
Very cool. And what are you reading now in terms of comics? Like what are you? I know that on GhettoManga.com you have a blog. You always update, post updates on what this comic book, a story on a comic book, or something that you want the world to know. So tell us a little bit about what is it that you think that we need to be aware of. What's going on?
Like something that I'm reading now that people should read. I read a lot of independent stuff. What I could tell you, I haven't bought a lot of comics over the last few years. But I just bought a comic book the other day. I went to the comic shop the other day. I bought this comic that I never heard of from anybody else, but I just saw it on stands. I haven't even written about it yet. So it's new. It's a new comic. I don't know when it came out, last couple months at least, called Prez, Prez. And it's the first teenage president. And it's about, DC makes it, so I have no idea, no idea where this idea came from. But, and I don't know how it fits in with their other stuff, but it has DC logo on it. Prez is about a girl who becomes president through, by accident. The book is like a parody or a satire of popular culture, politics, and social media culture. It's really weird. I like weird things. So in Prez, this girl becomes president. She's 16, but she becomes the first teenage president because rules have changed or whatever that obviously allows for a teenager to become president. But all the people that were the main candidates that were running for president are terrible, and they keep getting in these scandals because of social media. They'll do something stupid and people find out. A dude had a porn profile or whatever, Tinder or whatever, and it got out, so he couldn't be president. And then another dude, he did something bad. I can't remember what it was. He couldn't be. So this girl, there's now these people who are the kind of Illuminati types. They have this meeting or whatever of all these corporate companies. And they have a cartoon symbol that covers their face so nobody knows who it is. But you can kind of tell, the main guy has a big smiley face, it's obviously Walmart. And then there's one, it's got a big dog, a dog with a droopy tongue or whatever, and it's Pharmaduke, because he's the symbol of the big pharmacy industry. And so it's all these different ones. And so this girl who works for some kind of fast food place, she becomes a viral video because she burns her hair trying to clean out the they call her corn dog girl because she was cleaning out the